So if I have a graph, and I will just start with one of these here. Can anybody tell me, I have an x and a y axis. Can anybody tell me which one this is? That's your x-axis. And what about this one? Y. So, when you graph a point, let's say, so you're going to have this in the form x, y, and if you ever can't remember which one goes first, it's in alphabetical order, so x, then y. You're always going to start from what's called the origin, or your center of 0, 0. The x value tells you what direction to go. Left or right, or up or down? Left or right. So your x is going to tell you left or right. What about your y value? Up or down. So, if you have a negative value for x, are you going to go left or are you going to go right? Left. So you have your negatives over here and your negatives down here. So I'm going to go with your negative here and here. Over here you'll have your positives and your positives. So if I take the point 3, 5, I start at my origin, and where do I go? When you say over, what direction do you mean? I go right. So I'm going to go over 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make my point. And we'll go ahead and label that point A. So we're just going to practice this a couple times. So what if I have the point 4, negative 2? What do I do? Becca?
You're going to go to the right 4, and you're going to go down 2.
Down 2. So that's my point B. If I have the point negative 2, 6, somebody knew, where am I going to go? Faith?
Left 2.
Left 2, up 6. And let's say I have the point negative 5, negative 4. Where do I go? Somebody knew. Left 5, and then down 4. So if I want to determine if 4, 8 is on that line, y equals 2x plus 6, can somebody tell me how I might do that? Becca? So I'm going to plug in, I'm actually going to plug in both of my numbers. Because I have 4 and 8 here, right? And that's my...
Right, you put the 8 into where the y is.
Yeah, so I have an x and I have a y. So I'm going to substitute both of those into this equation and see if it is true. So I'm going to do 8 for my y, and then 2 from my equation, 4 from my x value, and then plus 6. And then I just need to evaluate whether or not this is a true statement or not. So I'm going to drop down my 8 equals, what is 2 times 4? And then what do I need to drop down? Plus 6. And then what is 8 plus 6? Hang on. Okay, so is it true that 8 is 14? 8 equals 14? No, that is not true. So, no, 4, 8 is not on that line. Questions on that? So what we're going to do now is determine what points actually are on that line. So if I have y equals 2x plus 6, some of you guys are well aware of how to graph this without finding all the values, all that stuff, but I still want to make sure we're clear on how to do that before we move on. So what we're going to do is make an XY table for x values and for y values, and then we'll graph this. So if I have different values for x, those are the ones that I decide on. I decide what I'm going to put in for x, and I'm going to go from I think negative 3 to positive 3. So I'm going to go negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Those are the x values I'm going to use. And you can really, for the most part, put in any when we're talking about linear equations. When we're talking about more complicated equations, then you have to start using more specific numbers. But for linear equations, you can use just about anything. So what I'm going to do is exactly what I did in the warm-up. If I want to know what y is, can somebody tell me how I'm going to find that value? By plugging in my various values of x. So for this one, I'm going to have y equals 2 times what? Negative 3 plus 6. And what does that equal? Yeah, because 2, and I'm going to go sideways on this. I usually go down, but I'm going to run out of room if I do that. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 plus 6, which equals 0. So my value for that y is 0. So the next one, what am I going to put in instead of the negative 3? Negative 2 plus 6. So what's negative 2 times 2? Negative 4 plus 6. And what does that equal? 2. Next one, 2 times negative 1 plus 6. So what's negative 2 times 1? Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. We're not going to do this very many times, so those of you about ready to jump out of your skin because you're getting bored, don't worry about it. There does, and we will talk about that momentarily. So 2 times 0 plus 6, what's 2 times 0? So if we keep on doing this, we have 2 plus 6 equals 8. 2 times 2 plus 6 equals 4 plus 6 equals 10. And finally, so there's a couple of things that I want to point out in here. So if we have, trying to remember how much actually gets discussed. So we may be jumping ahead just a little bit because I don't think we need to stay in this place for too long. What are you noticing about what's happening here? It is increasing by 2. Every single time we're adding 2. Where do you see that related to your original equation? There's a 2. And then there's another part of this that we're going to talk more about in section 4.1. What other part of the equation is important? So let's take a part of our graph and graph these points. So it doesn't matter which one you're on your paper. I'm just on the second one down. So this is for y equals 2x plus 6. I'm just going to go and graph my points. So negative 3, 0. Where am I going to go for that one? Left 3, and then do I go up or down? No, because it's 0, so I'm going to stay right there. Now what? So left 2 and up 2. Then what? Left 1, up 4. Then what? Yeah, so because my x is 0, I'm not going left or right. I'm just going to go straight up 6. So, and I'm going to run out of room. So I'm not going to worry about graphing 1, 8, and 2, 10, and 3, 12 because they're not going to fit on my graph. So what I want to do is take a straight edge. So I'm just going to use my ID because I apparently don't have a ruler handy anymore. You would think so. And I'm going to draw my line clear across my graph. So, if I were to go further negative, so -4, what do you think the value would be on this line for -4, for x equals -4? Looking at your graph. Say again? -4, -2, because if I go back, I'm going to go back to -4 and then down 2, so I have a point right there as well. And what about -5? What's my value for -5? -4.
It's all gonna be down
Yep,
up to
exactly. So, there's some patterns to this that are going to shorten this process. But for today, we are going to practice the process of entering the numbers, making the table, which is going to be kind of tedious for some of you, and that's fine. But we're going to do a few practice problems.